A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final day of the second edition of Digipub Week, powered by Akamai Technologies. Digipub Week is the online chapter of our Digipub World Convention, which is India's first conference dedicated to online publishers, held annually since 2017. I would like to thank our sponsors, powered by partner Akamai Technologies, and associate partners, and Beyond Media and Z Digital for supporting us. Can we please have their AVs? Thank you. Moving on to today's session, has video fulfilled its early promise? On the panel, we have Bobby Paul, General Manager Marketing at Manorama Online, Nitin Mathur, co-founder 91mobiles.com, and Vikram Chandra, founder at EditorG. Welcome, everyone. Now introducing you to the moderator of the session, Anirban Roy Chaudhary, Associate Editor at AFAX. Before we dive into the discussion, I request the audience to please stay back after the panel discussion, as we have an exclusive interview with Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, Senior Journalist, Author, and News Anchor at India Today. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Over to you, Anirban.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Debashish. And great introduction. We'd like to start with you, Vikram. I mean, you saw various video waves through your career, be it with NDTV and now with EditorG. Initial remarks, do you think it delivered to its promises? And do you think there are multiple promises that it presented before us, back when television news was starting in '94, or, now when we see a wide range of digital offerings in front of us? Your initial remark on this, and then we'll get into specific promises.
So, as you said, probably one of the problems of being in my age in a panel like this is that I've actually seen probably more waves than some of the people who are attending this that have been alive for. But I can count at least 4 distinct waves and 4 distinct times where people said this is the early promise of it. Quite often, it took time for that promise to actually play itself out. And then it did deliver. So let's go all the way back. Before NDTV, I was actually with India Today Group with Newstrack. That time I got into television journalism, it was a video news cassette. The concept that video news by itself would become a thing in India was considered radical. It was considered a promise which was never going to be delivered because Doordarshan was entirely controlled by the government. But it happened. And you had 24-hour news channels, and you had too many 24-hour news channels. And you got hundreds of 24-hour news channels, and you say, oh my God, I'm sick of news channels. Well, that's the sort of a cycle that took. Same thing happened with digital. The first time I ever put digital streaming on a digital platform at ndtv.com, I think it was 2000, people said, it's not going to happen. There will never be video on the internet. It's too expensive. Yeah. The bandwidth is too low. But it happened, right? It took some time, but then it happened. First time we ever put video on a mobile phone. People said, you're crazy. Who's going to pay that much money? Why would that ever happen? Again, all those things happen. Today, you're once again at a time when there's a bit of a down drip, right? So now it is seeming like the cycle has turned. People are very tired, I think, of television news in its present form. Digital video news doesn't appear to have lived up to its potential. Monetization in particular is a real pain. No one is being able to figure out how to be monetized in digital, right? CPMs are low and the rest of it. So people are saying, okay, we are sick of video. It's like finished. It's like dead. It's over. Perhaps, but I often feel that sometimes it's in those moments where it looks as if everything is looking really, really gloomy, that new ideas will emerge, new solutions will emerge, new ways of doing things will emerge. Those will seem crazy today in 2021. Those ideas will seem crazy. But 2023, 2024, people will say, oh my God, why didn't we think of it earlier?
Correct. Great initial remarks. After video came to television, we talked about segmentation into different languages. And that's when we saw video in regional languages, many Indian languages, I should say. Bobby, why don't you shed some light on how you see video today and what is the promise that it presents before you?
Well, thanks Anirban, and thanks FX team for having me here today. Let's go back to the basics. So any publisher, whether it is legacy, new or ultra new, hybrid, the primary dharma is basically to put content out there which is engaging for the audiences to listen, hear, watch, right? So there is a change in the consumer patterns of media consumption which is over the years happening. It got augmented a lot because of the cost, data cost getting lower in India, the proliferation of mobile devices and all that. So to make this sustainable, you need a monetization backend, because you cannot just keep investing on infrastructure and people and content without it giving back the businessman the money it requires, right?
Correct.
So this challenge is there for all the businesses, whether it is e-business or omni-channel business or brick and mortar business. So the monetization will catch up. Right now, there is proliferation of especially about videos, the kind of video what is available, right? There is long form, there is short form, there is ultra long form, there is video commerce, social commerce, and a lot of these aspects are overlapping also. So no one is a king out here. Everybody is experimenting. It's like a duck in a pond. I mean, you don't see how vigorously they are paddling behind the scenes, but everybody is trying to stay afloat. Yes, correct. But when it comes to the monetization aspect, because I handle the marketing and monetization here, what I see is that if you plot eCPM prices, whether it is digital display or video in India or in US, compared to all other geographies, we may not even feature on a Plotex diagram.
Correct.
That is so minute. I mean, it's like fraction of the cents we are getting right now. So
exactly,
that's the challenge, which you have to build up. But I think the way ecosystem is going, digital is already overtaken print. It is aiming for TV maybe in 2, 3, 4 years max. So definitely it is going to catch up. That's
definitely, and we'll definitely come to these details. But before that, initial remarks from you, Nitin. I mean, we talked about regional languages segmentation. Then you came up with something like specific, meeting a specific need where you were more specialized. Tell me about your experience with video so far, and the promises that it delivered, or it awaits to deliver at least.
Yeah. So my specific context is that I run 91 Mobiles, which is one of the large gadget sites in India. We help about 30 million people in a month decide what to buy when it comes to phones, laptops, and other gadgets. Now, we started way back in 2012, and I think within a year or so, we opened a YouTube channel as well, because gadgets has always been a research purchase. People go and read, watch review videos, unboxing videos, and so on and so forth, comparison videos. So we've had that going pretty much from 2013, 2014. But it was, I think, 4-5 years back, around 2015, 2016, I forget which, that there was this sudden buzz that video is going to be the next big thing, and to the point that even text might be dead, and that's where content consumption is going to move. And if I think back, a lot of this push came from, in our case, a platform like Facebook, where the account managers were were on our backs saying that you must create more videos and your page engagement will drop otherwise, and we see this data that that's where consumption is shifting, and so on and so forth. And at that time also it sounded a bit odd, because you figured Facebook is for casual browsing, so sure, casual fun videos, but for a category like ours, does it have any relevance? But nonetheless, we tried. There are because the hype created was such, there were many other publications I know of that tried, and whenever we used to speak to them and ask, how is it working out for you, so people would in the initial days say that, oh, our views are up by so much percentage month on month, and so on. But if you ask anybody, are you making money from it? They'd be like, not yet. Do you know how you'll make money from it? They're like, it's early days, we'll see. Now, this was 5 years back. I don't think that answer is still there yet. And I think it also turned out that in a couple of cases, a lot of this hype, in this case with Facebook, that we experienced was about them wanting to pivot their own platform to have more videos, because they saw the consumption of videos growing on other platforms like YouTube and Instagram. So I think it was so there was definitely some hype there. Now, the short answer to whether it has delivered on the promise from a publisher perspective, and especially from the perspective of a publisher like us, so I would say it's mixed, right? Like, has video consumption increased? Sure. What type of content has it increased on? News, yes. Entertainment, yes. Fashion, yes. Tech, also yes. But where has it increased, right? So people are largely viewing this on platforms like YouTube, like Instagram, and like maybe TikTok earlier in some cases. So the platforms have obviously seen a big increase, and our YouTube channel, which is one of the largest channels run by a tech publication, has also seen its views increase a lot. We get about 5-7 million views a month, but still not much by way of revenues. There are some revenues, but nothing that would absolutely transform the business for us. So if you ask, has it delivered on the promise? I think I'll probably leave it with end my remarks with this, that what really was the promise? I mean, was the promise ever that it will be transformative for publications? Probably not. Maybe that was something we read into it incorrectly. The promise was, and still is, that video will be a disruption. People are watching it more and more. But just like the internet, it's the internet itself is a democratic medium. So media is no longer the preserve of a few organizations as it was in the TV and print era. There are many organizations that that are part of digital media now. But video in itself is even more democratic, because not only are there many organizations, you can actually follow a specific person rather than an organization. Right. And the fact is that, and especially true in case of tech, and I'm sure maybe in case of other industries as well, that a lot of the individuals who strike a chord with people who have, personally are great presenters, have great knowledge, are actually much bigger on video when it comes to video than, than organizations are, because on video, the person and the authenticity that person brings and the knowledge that person brings, I think works a lot more. So yeah, I mean, so that's where I'll end my initial remarks. That
thank
the promise is playing out for some people, for sure.
Yeah, so identifying the promise. And Vikram, when you start Editor G, you had a different look at video, the way we will present it, the way we will make it. What is the promise that video presents to you today? When you look forward, what do you think video will achieve? Will it be the biggest revenue driver for you? Or will it be the biggest reach driver for you? Maybe a video will get people to Editor G, and then they will explore other things through which you will make the money. So how do you see video today?
Well, we are primarily a video news app, and we have
Correct.
audio and text also. Every story is video, audio, text. But the whole concept of iHeritage was set up was to try and find a different paradigm. And if I can just take off a little bit from what Nitin was saying, what I think is the core of the problem when we were setting up Heritage, what is the core of the problem? I think part of the problem is that it's the user experience in finding video is not yet done. Digital, so let's assume that television has got its own challenges and it's sliding for multiple reasons. You know that, getting ERPs, all of that. Now let's come to video. What is it that we are asking people to do on video? You're asking people to come and find a video story in a sea of a million stories, and you're hoping to go and find that story and click on it and saying, okay, I'm going to watch X amount of time in it. It's not as simple as surfing through text content. In text, you can scroll down a bunch of links and say, okay, tuck, yeah, I like this. I'm going to click on that link and I'm going to watch it. Not that easy to do with video. So you need to find the correct user experience for starters, which enables people to go through lots and lots of video or find a way that they can actually see the right stories. And there was no clear solution to that. Because even when you look at the algorithms and what the algorithms are throwing up, it's basically based on, oh, you once clicked on a traffic accident, so we're going to show you more traffic accidents. You once clicked on, or engagement. Because everyone is watching Disha Patani in the Maldives, so we're only going to show you Disha Patani in the Maldives. That was the only sort of videos that will do well. Neither of them is a solution. So a lot of what we've been trying to do is, let's see if we can find the correct user experience by which people can experience video, and then from that go in and see it more. And that's essentially what the approach is. And I can talk in greater detail as to what the answers are, why we think that things are going to change. But that's where the real challenge in my view is going.
Oh, okay, that's great. Bobby, coming to you, I mean, when you distribute video in Indian languages, in your case, with Manorama, where do you find the challenges? Is it technological challenges, or do you find challenges in producing it because you have to do it in that particular language? The metadata, they are different. When do they read them anymore? So how does the challenge become different for you?
I will explain it this way. Right, for any video content producer, the challenges when you talk about commonality, about whatever spectrum you're operating, is basically to on the top level, it is to market it, make sure that your content is available, is discoverable, and it reaches the right audience. Second is to monetize, obviously. And if it is a paid or a SWOT kind of engagement or paywall you're built up, then how you manage the churn, the audience management or user management. So these are the three broad spectrums which we normally have to look at, and of course, denominated by a common monster which a lot of legacy publishers obviously struggle with, even new age publishers struggle, which is basically video content delivery. I mean, in a hybrid kind of situation, you're talking about desktop, mobiles, tablets, wearables, whatnot, right? And to seamlessly deliver this content across all these touch points is a huge challenge. So you need a good cloud infrastructure, you need a good CDN support for this, then you need good ad servers, video serving engines, good data platform to make personalization happen, because all this plays out at the end, how you deliver the content and how you monetize the content. So it is slightly complex than regular display advertising or textual content delivery, because it is a high bandwidth game, right? So to deliver a content of certain quality and video quality, if your business is on that angle, it's going to be, content is really costly in really good content. I mean, the kind of budgets what a Netflix or Amazon is spending in India, I don't want to quote it, but it's very high for a normal publisher to spend on it. Even if you are not focusing on that, you're focusing on video on demand, like what Vikram is finally doing, like Editor or Manorama. One end of the spectrum, we have video on demand. On our website, we also have an OTT, which is on a different spectrum. So when it comes to that, is quality is not very important. It should be topical, it should be fast, it should be quick, but delivered, really, really quick, with maybe from a mobile devices, conversion to a central CMS. All these things matter. So it is a heavy tech-oriented distribution and playout mechanism, which is not very cheap, I would say, from Indian perspective.
Correct. That's great. One more thing is, that I want to discuss is format. I mean, Instagram, you have to put it in Instagram, you'll have to put it in a different format. You'll have to put it in a different format on YouTube, where it's vertical. Then you go to Facebook, there it's different. It's separate investment, separate editing. And then you have Facebook and Google taking most of the money. Nitin, is production not a big challenge, given the number of formats that we have, and each have their own importance in terms of distribution?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on whose perspective that you're looking at it from. So I think for us, and I think for many publications, including for some brands as well, right? Each social media channel is a different channel. So you, and obviously production costs are high. What you basically end up doing is repackaging, existing content. So you would, let's say in our case, we'd make big video for YouTube, which is where the detailed long form works. You'd use snippets of that that you'd then repurpose and share on Instagram and possibly other channels. There are various people who can do a voiceover in English or Hindi. So it's sort of you try to work off of one common effort, which is then sort of commensurate to the return that you get, which is that there is some incremental benefit of having a presence on each of these platforms. Now, obviously, this is very different from something like Editor-G, for instance, where the whole business is to be a destination where people consume in video. And I think therefore the question is very different for people for publications for whom this is just one more channel, versus where those for whom it is the actual core offering.
Correct.
I also think that in any sort of new trend that comes, whether it's as broad as digital or something specific like video, the people for whom it can have a transformative impact is people who are specifically built to capitalize on that trend, right? So I think for us, as well as for a lot of other media outlets, video is one more format, right? That is, there's text you do, there's infographics that you do, there's various content that you put up on social media, and then there is a video, and everything adds up a bit. The companies that will do that can actually leverage the benefit of video are either the platforms or obviously entities that are aiming to be destinations, that are predominantly leveraging video. And which is on the lines of what I guess Vikram was trying with Editor-G. But I think, and that may work to varying degrees, but I think that is where obviously the challenge is a lot higher in terms of, if that is your core offering, then how do you are you saying that it's only available on your site, or or are you actually repackaging it to run on various platforms? My sense would be that most publications will have to pick a predominant platform which is the major distribution channel, and whether it's a site or YouTube or and then the others work off of modifications of that.
Correct. We already have half a dozen questions, and please send them. I'll definitely try and ask those questions to our panelists through my conversation. But to Vikram, I want one very specific, I want one very specific question to be answered by you. Apart from being the editor, you're also the CEO of NDTV. Will you mount a show like The Big Fight on Editor-G? And do you think advertisers will back it? I mean, what's your sense of it?
I mean, I'm not now anything to do with NDTV, as you know.
Yeah, definitely. You were, I said, the CEO and the editor of NDTV.
No, but I already do News Guru, which was on Editor-G, which I run. It's doing quite well. We did at the height of the pandemic, I did a show like Ask the Doctor, which was absolutely, I mean, On Twitter, you struggle to get 10, 20,000 video views sometimes, or 30,000 video views considered a lot on things. But it just shows you with the right sort of content, if you do and with the right partners. Ask the Doctor was getting 1 million video views every single show on Twitter. Now, Twitter is not a place where you normally get that sort of traffic, but virtually every episode that we did crossed 1 million video views. I think it was some sort of a record. So yes, we will certainly be doing stuff like that. But just to follow up a little bit on what Nitin said also, it's actually quite interesting, this question of whether Heritage is intended to be a destination. And actually the answer is no. The name of the company is Heritage Technologies. Yes, you can come to Heritage, you can download the app and you can see the stuff out there, but you don't have to do it. In fact, we don't necessarily even talk about it or push people to say you've got to download the app and the rest of it. Our real focus is more on the technologies by which various things are happening. Like everyone says creating content is a difficult thing. And yes, it is. And it's an expensive thing. Yes, it is. We're doing 150 videos a day, 150 distinct video stories a day. Now, how are we doing it? What are the technologies by which we are doing it without costs going sky high? Now, that's, I think, a key part of what we do. How do you go on the Heritage app from video to audio to text at the touch of a button? How do you go between those formats at the touch of a button? That's been our focus. So a lot of our focus has been on building the technologies. And quite frankly, our path and our solution, Heritage app and other stuff is more as a technology demonstrator, because we're very open now to talking to partners. We are very open architecture. We talk to a number of platforms. We build stuff to that, and we license the technology. So that in many ways is the core part of what we see a lot of our future as. Yeah, the people coming and consuming the content directly on Heritage and on our partners. That's great, but it's not necessarily the main thing that we're
doing. Okay, that's great. Bobby, your answer to the question, whatever I just asked him, I mean, going forward, do you think monetization, people will you, for example, put a premium video content behind a paywall and only present it to those who pay for pay a fee to you, or will it always be advertising that you monetize it through?
Well, it's a really a content question. Being a marketing guy, to answer it may not be the right, but my perspective is like, it's like putting a piece of meat to a dog, and whether they are going to chew it or not, it's totally the dog's call, right? So you have to make it as attractive as possible. It can be grilled, it can be peppered, it can be salted. I don't know what the dog likes, but no offense is meant, but that's how the content game is. You have to keep experimenting, because the way the things are overlapped right now is that it is not just one platform or one solution which is going to fit all, because the way you're going to deliver content for a Gen X or a Gen Z may not be the content you're going to deliver, or the way you're going to deliver it to a little older guy. So that's the whole thing about it. I think yesterday on one of the discussions, somebody was telling, is there a scope for opening a special vertical for above 60 plus? If you ask me, yes, there is. There is a spectrum who's well earned and made their riches at the right time, and they're getting into the retired life with a lot of money to spend. So if you have any affinity or special interest which actually can match their aspirations at that point of time, at that curve of life, definitely there is a play there. It is a very, very democratic game, right? So
correct.
The convergence also is happening is something you look out on now. The e-commerce, the telcos, the larger content groups are converging. You just see the fun of the space, what is happening. Can you fathom this maybe a couple of 5-10 years back? No, I don't think so. Right now, the barriers are getting broken. It's not like German wall getting fell a couple of years back. This following is happening across, and the kind of mergers which is in the offing, the kind of tie-up which is happening now. Google is coming with Jio to give a smartphone for India, which is going to be a game changer. You're talking about 300 million users straight away. I mean, they are all addressable, first data audience. Please take a note. It's going to be huge thing to happen.
Correct. Nitin, Vikram just said about the numbers on Twitter, and those are like amazing numbers. Whoever understand the Twitter numbers, but that again, what you had initially said, actually, that could be that Twitter wants more video views, and that's why they were identifying quality content and therefore promoting them. Do you think there's a question that has come from one of the participants, and the question is, do you think video actually delivered for the social media platforms and not for the publishers who are actually, producing them?
So I think firstly, I think the example that Vikram gave might be an actual example because there are content niches that are underserved, and while a platform might be promoting videos a little bit in their algorithm, but if certain videos, 1 million views on Twitter for anything is a hell of a lot.
Correct.
So it's probably a good example of a niche being discovered that is underserved and quality content that actually just clicked and worked. Yes, I think the nature of digital and the nature of video is such that if you ask me over the longer term, the people who are going to, the entities that will gain in power are the platforms and the individuals, right? Especially when it comes to video. I think that's just how it's structured. There are the opportunities for individuals are opening up dramatically. I think all of us would know how the creator economy and the influencer economy is doing. So it's very empowering media has gone from a few large organizations to a number of mid-sized organizations to now going actually down to a number of thousands of individuals that will be the storytellers in various categories. So I think it's good for the individuals, it's good for the platforms that drive distribution for these individuals. So there's no doubt about that. When it comes to publishers, I think there'll be a few horizontal ones. There'll be a few niches such as tech, such as sports, such as maybe other niches where a niche works. Then there'll have to be some sort of a niche that I think publishers discover, and in every niche, whether horizontal or vertical, there'll be one or two players that'll probably do well. But yeah, for the rest, it'll be a downward pressure at the cost of platforms and individuals. And I think we see that. So in our case, with 91 Mobiles, we're actually adapting to that. So when it comes to video, what we're actually doing is we are recognizing that our channel would be one amongst hundreds. And we've actually started this initiative called the 91 Mobiles Tech Tribe Initiative, where we are actually welcoming budding YouTubers and content creators. We have a program where we help them set up, make their channels bigger, and then actually collaborate with them to offer solutions to brands where we do content creation. The draw for brands being that as a vertical publication, we understand the space a lot better and would be able to do much better quality work than any other influencer agency per se would. And that's how we partner with individuals. And obviously, as far as the platforms are concerned, there's absolutely no benefit in trying to compete with any of them, unless of course you're trying to be a platform yourself.
Correct. There's one question, and Vikram, you can take it. It says, which company / brand do you look up for learnings when it comes to video, if you at all do?
Interesting question. I guess when we were setting up Heritage, we were inspired by a couple of companies. Southia, to some extent, the use of AI in the news, but actually the company that I think has inspired me the most is Spotify, because a lot of what Heritage has done has been built using the same. If you look at it, video news and information, what we're trying to do, very similar to what Spotify did with music, right? Right now, you're searching for digital video stories. You've got to try and find them somewhere. It's like cassettes and CDs. With Spotify, you find the playlist. So what we do is we stitch all the stories that we can locate into a customized playlist for you, similar to Release Radar on a Spotify or an Apple Music. So that's that playlist that you can watch. And you can go from video to audio to text at the touch of a button if you want to, but we are assembling that for you. And similarly, the next big wave of Heritage's evolution is going to be, to answer Nitin's point or what Bobby also said, how does an influencer create their own video news channel?
Yeah.
Why is the name of our company Heritage? We're going to allow anybody to become the Heritage of their own video news channel, including a brand. You can create a video news channel by just opening the Heritage app, select the stories that you want, press record your own anchor links, and there you have it. You have a 24-hour news channel that you can launch 5 minutes later. Similar to creating trailers. So those are some of the areas that we think you will find interesting new ways of really breaking out of the mold, in a sense, in video. Because right now you're sort of stuck in this downward spiral. You've got to find ways of breaking out from this.
Great answer. We are at the last 5 minutes. So Bobby, starting with you, where do you see, say 3 years from now, we again discussing promises and perils of video. What do you think what is the promise that you see today in front of you that you think video will deliver in the next 3 years?
Well, see, as long as the digital ecosystem is getting augmented, and it is mainly led by the mobile devices, especially in the case of India, especially the Android part of it. This is going to be a very, very prolific nugget of media mix is going to be, right? So we can really see right now how the way it is going to turn out. But as long as the audience are there and they want to actually address the largest non-addressed or unaddressed or under-addressed market in India, content-wise and monetization-wise, is what we call Bharat. That's the word people are saying right now. They may not be able to read a lot of text, maybe may not be the particular applicable with Kerala, but maybe a lot of other states it is still applicable. So they're going to consume a lot of videos, no doubt in that. They want to hear and see, rather than read. And also on the other spectrum, when you come to A class cities, though wherever there are larger commutes happening, whether it is ride sharing or company provided or large blue collar workers getting ferried from one place to their workplace or factory, they are all glued to mobile devices. So what they're going to do, they're not going to just listen to music all the time. They definitely watch videos. So video is going to stay. Whatever formats, it can be a jamboree of formats, but depending upon the age factor and the kind of the demographics they belong to, they're going to consume content of their affinity nature. So that's going to stay. How you tap into that, keeping your business objectives in mind, with your handicaps in mind, is what every business leader has to think about. So that video is going to really, really grow. I mean, I think it is already neck to neck with social media marketing. I think according to the latest report which is coming on, it's already surpassed display and search businesses to an extent. I'm talking about the entire video mix, including OTT. So it's a large game out there. So video is very, very promising.
It's a promising large game. Nitin, your takeaway from video? I mean, 3 years from now, what is it that you want video to deliver quickly?
I don't think it matters what I wanted to deliver, but I'll tell you the top 2 or 3 trends that I see. I think when it comes to entertainment and possibly news, I think video, the content will and the viewership will become a lot more vernacular and a lot more local. And I think we're already seeing that there's this interesting OTT, for example, called Stage, which is an OTT, but only in dialects, in local dialects. And so I think stuff like that will pick up a lot. When it comes to the power balance, I think definitely platforms and individuals will continue to grow bigger. There's no reversing that trend. But I think one thing that will hopefully play out is a lot more brands will become more comfortable with advertising on video, being part of in brand placements and stuff like that in video. I think I remember 5-6 years back, content marketing was a buzzword, but brands were still getting comfortable with how that rubric will work. How does it fit into conversions? And and that was always something people wanted to do, but it was a difficult sell. And I think over a period of time, a lot of brands figured it out, made separate
Correct.
budgets for it and so on. And I think video is somewhere at that stage where people, instinctively understand that, yes, if I'm featured contextually in a particular video, it's good for my brand, but how do I measure this? Do I carve out a separate budget for it? This, that, and the other. So I think that's something that will hopefully happen more and more over the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see easier and more robust monetization on video.
Great. Thank you, Nitin. Vikram, will end with you. What's that you are looking from video in the next 3 years?
Well, I think the single biggest thing is that I hope that brands will do some of what Nitin is saying. You know, one of the challenges in video in all those 4 ways that we were talking about earlier is that sometimes it is clear that the trend is moving to a particular place, and then it took time for brands to recognize that we need to move to something. You know, you get there was a time when brands used to only think about, okay, if you have to put out an ad, it has to be in print. Why would you put an ad in television news? Then why am I putting an ad on the digital publication? So today, I think again, it's a very different world out there. It's a very different technological world out there. The requirement from brand leaders to say, oh, we've got to just chase how many clicks did this get, or how many CPMs did this get, or how many videos views did they get, it's not necessarily what's going to be driving conversion and be the best thing for the brand. That mindset shift is required. Getting 100,000 people to be watching your brand on, I don't know, some sleazy video somewhere on TikTok, right? That's not necessarily as good for you as getting 100,000 people to watch you on something else, which is
correct,
better, right? That sort of a realization, I think, has to really dawn. And when that happens, I think you'll see quality content then really starting to search. That's
great. Thank you very much, Vikram, Bobby, Nitin, for your time. It was fantastic. My takeaway is news is competing with Netflix and TikTok and everything for eyeballs. And I hope video delivers more. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me here today.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for
over to you,
Thanks.
Debashi.
Thank you. Yeah.